Let's talk about the name of Paul.
Paul is in the Bible. He
sure.
is.
And in this room, they say.
I always saw Paul as a Lutheran.
There's Dean.
Oh, Otter Washington could be here too. Sure, why not?
Who?
Otter. The note taker, the AI note taker.
Anybody wants to go?
Oh,
Are we ready?
there's Dan. Dan's here.
Who?
Dan.
He should be here.
I harassed him.
What?
Sure. No,
Oh, is it Paul?
you want to sit here?
No,
I gotta have a taller chair. Slightly.
Are these taller chairs?
Here, because people can't see you.
Is it?
oh,
This doesn't seem
she
like.
might be having a secret
Doesn't
meeting
say.
with somebody in the audience.
Yeah, right.
Just saying. Hey, you got a pillow for Pat? Can we get a pillow for Pat? please?
And then I need a stool for my feet.
Now where did Catherine go?
She's over there yakking.
He's over there.
Now what's she doing?
I don't know.
Trying to start a meeting.
I did, I read it to you.
Well,
If he wrote it.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Doesn't answer, but.
No, it does. I mean, it gives you a little background, which is good.
All right, I'm putting
I'm
it,
sure we'll get to it. At least that's what the town clerk assured me of.
anybody wants some of those?
Have you been drinking?
Why am I swaying? I'm always smiling when I'm fine. and I haven't said it yet.
Anyway,
Ah,
all right. Start the recording. Whoops.
oh, great.
This one.
Oh, I did.
Sorry, Greg, I passed right by you.
All right. So calling the meeting to order, just a little bit late. Welcome all here gathered, whether on Zoom or in the hall, to the second meeting of the month of January 2025. There are a couple of additions to the, or there is one addition to the agenda, being the budget transfers that we need to do before we do the warrants. And perhaps you, I understand you did what the audit report.
Yes, we did.
You want to report on it?
You whispering?
Because we could just add that.
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
I don't have the paperwork.
Can you hear? People can't hear you.
Oh, I can't hear you. What was that?
I asked just that, whether we might want to put a report from the audit committee, because the, understand that the audit of the court took place.
Is there a report?
Sort of.
Sort of. And
It
that-
would be verbal at this point, because
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't bring the
okay.
paper.
Well, we don't normally give a report on that. Turn it
We
in. right?
got quite a, yeah, they
Yeah.
gave us,
Yeah, we do actually do.
we
right?
got to the sign, we're getting, give us lots.
We
of
did it the right way.
information. Yeah, at first she said, we're not
Hey,
telling.
hey,
you,"
Dan.
and then Said, well, we can't sign, we can't say that we did it. You did it.
Again? That's
Yes,
weird.
Dan is
Yeah.
here.
Okay, so
Yes.
are we-
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Can you hear Joel?
yes, the volume's pretty good.
Okay.
Are we
It's turned all the way up.
are we removing 10-2?
Yes.
Remove
No,
that.
not, yes.
10-2.
Yeah, I
Yes,
got it.
that was the other thing, that's a deletion,
Got it.
because we don't have the contract back from the county.
Was the other deletion?
The contract with the county.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
She said there's another one.
No, that's the other one.
Okay, so we're adding the audit
And the budget transfers.
and we probably ought to look at the second meeting in February, which is on the third
Oh,
Monday, which is holiday.
another holiday,
Yeah,
President's
and I
Day.
think,
so that'll be,
the clerk and I won't be here.
oh, that's the, during the,
Association of Towns.
Association of Towns.
Getting the audit. Going way down in business.
And I typically forgot to bring my calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get to it. It'll be February.
Joke.
It's been- Oh, yeah, President's Day, look at that. When's the AOT meeting? When's the AOT meeting? When is it?
It's usually the last day. I think it's Wednesday.
Well, that's what I was wondering whether you'll be back in time for the, if we moved it to,
Probably not,
so then we can take.
because usually that's over. I think it
Yeah.
usually starts at
One
3 or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's talk about it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, privilege of the floor. Is anyone who'd like to address the board on any subject? Steve, sure. Pull up a chair close to the mic.
So I just wanted to speak for a minute on the response that the Board of Elections sent the town
Yes.
board about the West Danby voting station. I, as a West Danby resident and a voter that has voted in every election, including primaries since I was of age, would strongly urge the board to not support closing the West Danby voting station. I don't want to drive to Newfield to vote, as they're suggesting here.
Mhm.
If I absolutely have to, I will drive up here to Danby. I mean, I do so every day to work, but I think it could be an issue for some residents of West Danby to get up here to vote.
Depends on the weather.
As it could be an issue for them to go for early voting in person.
Yeah.
And many people don't trust the mail to vote in the mail. Vote by mail. So I realize why they would like to do it, because it is a cost, but in the big picture, what is the cost of not making it
Losing
easier for your
voters.
constituents to vote? So I would urge you not to support their wanting to close the West Danby polling station. Thank you.
And, oh yes, Ted.
There we go. Thank you. I spoke about this previously, but I agree completely with what Steve just said. However, it would be interesting to hear what the reaction of people in West Danby is to voting in Newfield, which is about the same distance and by much more practical roads than uphill Danby would be. Second, I'd like to thank the clerk's office, since I think they're the ones who were taking the leadership in restoring service on the broken town website. It was out for quite a while, but I see that the calendar, for example, is available again. I would be curious to know how much of their time they spent on it and how much the town had to spend, if they did, for an outside consultant. As I remarked at previous meeting, I think the town's website is using software that is extremely complicated beyond the ease of easy user maintenance. And I think they could do better. And my third point, I do not see on the calendar any mention of meetings related to either the comprehensive plan revisions or to any other revisions to town laws. In fact, I attended the planning board meeting last night and I got the idea that there was no intent to make these open to the public. I realize that unless there are a certain number of town board and or planning board or other elected or appointed officials present, the open meetings law does not apply. Nevertheless, I think it's a very bad look not to publish these so that people can at least come and listen and see what's happening. It really leaves an impression that as someone said at the opening of this meeting, gee, I have to scramble back on my transcript here, that there are secret meetings being held outside of the, someone said this earlier, secret meetings being held outside of the view of the public. I just think it's a bad look. And it's no skin off your back if you make the schedule of these known and make them open to people to listen in. Thank you.
Somebody mentioned secret meetings. I just want to,
Not right now.
I
was
believe
gonna say
it was
that-
you, Leslie. You said
what's
that,
that?
I believe it was you. You said something, you were talking about Pat sitting down and you said something about, well, we wouldn't want anyone to think that she's having a secret
Oh.
meeting with someone. I think
Secret
you're kidding, but
somebody
I'm
in
not.
the- Jeez, that's, you're pushing it, Ted.
I was talking to my husband.
It was our intention, and Greg assures me that the regulatory review committee meeting is on the calendar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not secret.
if you go to the calendar, Ted, it's on the second Thursday of every month from 2 to 4 p.m. through December of this year, and we'll see by the end of the year for me to keep extending it, but it is on the calendar. Right now, it's a link to a Teams meeting. We found that actually we're gonna change that to Zoom. So the committee did meet in January. There is a recording of that meeting that I'm happy to share.
Sure.
But yeah, it is on the calendar.
There was a reference to a meeting that is happening tomorrow. And when I inquired about it, I was told, oh, it's just a subcommittee meeting. No
Yeah,
difference,
that's correct.
no difference to me.
What's going on?
If you listen to or read the transcript of the meeting, you'll see where this was extensively discussed by the group. Um,
My comment stands. Meetings which affect the future of the town should be open to the public. And announce. It doesn't matter if there's 2 people in the meeting, if they're discussing the town business. I think they should be open. I think my point is clear. You know, we don't have to argue it.
Duly noted. Anyone else? Seeing none. All right, we do have, as a correspondence, a response from the Board of Elections to our strongly worded, I thought, letter objecting to the closure of the West Danby polling station, which does not indicate a whole lot of willingness to entertain not closing it. I don't know whether it would make any difference or not, but certainly the only thing that could possibly influence the way things are going is if we had some sort of either a petition from the West Danby folks, which is probably the most effective way, but that would be a lot of work.
I talked to them for almost an hour.
Mhm.
You know, they had their reasons.
Yeah.
They
Everything
offered,
they say is true.
they offered maybe, I think there's a meeting at the end of February that they're going to, where they were gonna try and get more information about what they could offer and what they couldn't offer. They talked about Newfield. You know, they talked about low numbers, except for in general elections. It was a pretty good turnout.
I thought.
So then, well, maybe we could have voting at the fire station during general elections and have primaries at Newfield, you know, so,
Mhm.
but they weren't, it didn't sound like they were really interested in not closing it. But
No,
they
they're
did
saying it's a
talk,
cost thing?
most of it's a cost thing. It's,
Yeah, I mean,
they have a hard time getting people to work. It costs money to get the machines there, to man them, to, you know, it's an operation that costs money, so.
They
And
may get more volunteers if they actually pay the 20 or 25 living wage, which is an issue with them, because in 24.64 times $17 is like,
Right.
you know, over $400 per person and times 5. You know.
Right. Well, and maybe instead of just assuming that there's nothing could be done, maybe Danby could offer to help with some of that. I don't know. But they insist, there was a state meeting that was gonna happen. I thought at the end of February. And then they'd have more information.
Huh.
So I don't know, but, you know, they know that the roads are, if it's raining, if there's leaves on the ground, if there's any snow at all, chances of people coming up here to vote are pretty slim, unless they drive into Ithaca and come out.
Right.
So they understood all that.
I
So-
think we should try
One,
again.
one thing I did hear clear, and I put it in my email to you, was they don't really care, you know, they're not really interested in hearing what the town board has to say.
Yeah.
They want to hear what residents of West Danby say, and they would be more than willing to come out and participate in a meeting. If the West Danby Community Association, do they plan regular meetings?
No,
Well, maybe they'd have a meeting for this.
yeah, we could ask that. We could also do it ourselves, you know, the town board.
Do
could
what?
Have a meeting with the
West
West Danby
Danby.
about this.
But she just said it's much more effective if you have people from West Danby.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what-
no, but I'm suggesting a meeting of this group in West Danby with the residents to talk about this.
Well, we could be there, but I mean, the
Sponsor it,
point
right.
is to get
Get-
West Danby residents together and Steve and Alana
Oh, yes, Alana.
would come.
Yeah.
They'd be more than willing to come and have a discussion with people. But they weren't really, Alana was not really interested in hearing what the board has to say.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that made sense, sort of.
right. I mean, we could convene such a meeting, what I'm saying, you know, although I'd like to think that the community association is a good organization to sponsor it,
Yeah,
the organization is pretty dormant.
well, maybe this would liven them up. I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. No, I think it's a good topic for bringing people out. And we could even have a dish to pass up and then talk about it, you know, but,
How many volunteers do they need to man a woman up?
well, that's the thing is that, I was wondering, do they really need 5 people? It's usually, you know, 2 of each. So it's at least 4, right? One of which,
I can speak to that as a
That's-
election inspector.
You probably could, couldn't you? Because
Uh-huh.
you're familiar with this stuff.
I think the whole thing is we just need to somehow get West Danby to have a meeting.
Right.
And
That
what,
would be the best thing to do.
who sets it up, I don't know, but we should do it soon.
Yes, I agree. In fact, if we could, get it in the newsletter. I could do an email, because it's a very limited number of people that I have email addresses for. The best way to get the word out would be if we put it in the newsletter, but we'd have to have a date certain in order to do it. Maybe we need to go to press shortly.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Well, if, we don't have to have a date certain if we say this is imminent and we need to find a date, but please let us know if you're interested or whatever, but it would be nice if we could have a date, but how
if
can
we
we?
point them to the website, we could
Yeah.
announce it
Mhm.
there. So.
Right.
So, I move that we, arrange a meeting with the Board of Elections in West Danby, to create an opportunity for the residents there to express their, opinions and share them with the Board of Elections.
Yeah.
As soon as it can be arranged.
I'll second that.
For discussion?
I agree.
Okay.
Is that- oh,
Shall we vote on that, Ryan?
Sure, hold on, let me just put it together. Stand by. Very good. Okay, Connors. Okay, that was, hold on, that was Gagnon moved. Who seconded?
No, Leslie did.
And who seconded?
Leslie,
Leslie.
Who moved?
Leslie,
Joel.
I moved.
Joel.
Yes.
You guys are, okay.
Where were you, right?
Okay, Connors?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hunter?
yes.
Woodworth?
Yes.
Gagnon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We actually have Dan Klein with us this evening.
Yeah.
How nice to see you, Dan.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I have a few things to report. First of all, I have been re-elected by my colleagues this year as chair of the county legislature for one more year. That's something we do every year as we elect new leadership. And then another kind of turning of the calendar thing is that we have a new county administrator. New
Yeah.
county administrator is Corsa Akumfi. This is, I believe, his 12th business day on the job, so very new. I have a lot of confidence in him. He was a county administrator of Schoharie County, so he knows the things that county does, and he knows New York State law and all that kind of stuff. What he doesn't know yet is the Tompkins County and the players and the staff and the history and all that. So that's going to take a little while to get up to speed, but he's on his way. I've also announced publicly that I will not be running for legislature again. So this will be my last year in the legislature. And if there's anybody listening that is thinking about running for county legislature and wants to talk to me about, my views of what it's really like there, I'll be happy to do that. The county legislature had a meeting last night and we passed a resolution about the Cargill salt mine, similar to what the town of Danby has done. In fact, most of the towns in the county have done that. So basically asking for an environmental impact statement. So I just want to let you know that we also went along with the same idea that you had passed. And then the last thing I want to mention is that this is the first I'm hearing about the West Danby polling station. So I'm dismayed that I hadn't heard about it yet. And I will definitely be reaching out to the Board of Elections to find out what I can and to see what options there are. And please, please, please keep me in the loop. And I will definitely attend that meeting if I'm able. That's my report.
Thank you. Keith isn't here, and neither is Laura. Laura had a family gathering that
Yeah, she mentioned.
that she wanted to go to, and I said, sure, because it's not imperative, it should be present for this meeting. And we also have the historian's report for what you did in 2024, the year before. Get that, minutes. I move approval of the January 6th, 2025 town board meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mariah, the vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Aye.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up, the budget transfers, which are for, we're basically still working on the end of 2024 with these two. With the over a few lines being over budget, adjusting for it. So looks like you've got in front of you, Leslie, I do too, but go ahead.
Huh?
You want
You want to move it?
I move that we approve the
to-
budget transfer budgeted funds between accounts from central communication to website for $1,502, from highway contractual to traffic control for 214, and from health insurance to drug testing for 40.
Second. Did you have
Yeah,
something?
the account number on this resolution says A5132.40. Listed as garage and highway on the other sheet where it's the detail of every account, it's listed as garage. So I assume in the resolution, it should be changed to garage, not highway contractual. Garage contractual is that number. 5132.4 is garage control.
Yeah, labeling it properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we noted. Otherwise, okay.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Further discussion? The vote?
Connors,
Aye.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
All right, aye.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
And on to the ones, of which there are two sets. but
Yeah.
There will be for a while yet.
Well, the first abstract 26, the general fund vouchers, 511 through 530 for $13,059.18.
Second. Discussion? The vote.
Sorry, it's pesky mute button. Connors,
Sleeping, aye.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
Highway Fund Abstract 26 vouchers 246 through 253 for $17,673.48.
Second.
Pat seconded. Any discussion? Mariah?
Connors,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Aye.
There we go. 4 out of
Thank you.
5, baby.
Oh, you guys.
West Danby Water District Abstract 26 vouchers 39 through 43 for $7,367.23.
Second. Discussion? The vote.
Connors,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
Welcome. And
What we do this year?
General Fund Abstract 2 vouchers 13 through 22 for $62,686.42.
Second. Discussion? Oh, the vote.
Connors,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
Highway Fund Abstract 2 vouchers 1 through 7 for $20,352.97.
Second.
Ready? The vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. On to business, first of which is, Gratian Michael was really quick at saying, "Gonna have my money?" It's like, "Oh, sure, well, we need to pass the agreement, authorizing to sign it." So that was just included with the materials, but this is for CSI's monitoring work that they do. We have supported them. I think she, in fact, I know that she actually said,
Was
"Shall I
she
send the annual
there
report
last year?
to, what then?"
Was she there last year?
Yeah,
Oh, I missed it.
she's been doing for Steve Pennyroth,
Right.
retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
been doing it, this is her second year.
Okay.
And she sent us,
You okay?
well,
copy.
she offered to send us hard copy, but I said, why don't you just email the annual report to the board, which we did. You should, just
The annual report.
of CSI was sent to all the board members about a week ago.
I don't remember getting it.
This.
Um,
I mean, that's a,
No,
I
that's
wouldn't
not
call
it.
that a report.
That's,
Yeah, and there was an email from her to you, to all of us. I went to town board, so I should have gone, you should have gotten, I mean, I'm sure you did. Over a week ago.
No, I'll look again.
Yeah.
But
She offered to send hard copy if you wanted.
How many pages is it?
Not sure. Not that many. She got it all bound up and everything. She did a nice job.
I mean, it'd be nice to have
If-
one
if it
copy in
went to the
town
town-
hall.
In the town is this, yeah, something we could
Yeah.
have in the library.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I asked for it, so.
Okay. I don't remember seeing it. I can't find it, I'll.
Mm-hmm. Pretty happy to. In fact, if I can just. Go with the message she sent to us, everybody, to you again, so everybody remind us. So I move that we authorize me to execute the agreement.
Second.
The vote?
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remove the snow and ice contract. The next one is the cybersecurity insurance contract. You want to talk about this, Catherine, or?
I can briefly, when we determined that we had to make some changes, one of the things that was warned is the threat for cybersecurity for towns increasing, and we went looking for help, and we made the relationship with TCNS, and we also discussed the need for cyber insurance. And at that time, I did talk to some other towns, and I did talk to our insurance that we have for the town, and found that it definitely has to be, it's very specialized, very few people, and the companies that are doing it are dwindling instead of increasing, because it's pretty complicated.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of brokerages, but the one that we had been dealing with is Fifth Wall. And the man who's talked to us, I think he may have even been in one of the town meetings of it, about IT stuff, is
Was that a staff?
Wilson Henry.
Came to a staff meeting. Well, it wasn't a staff meeting, it was a meeting of.
Well, that's recent. I'm talking about last,
Back away.
way back,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, we're at the point where we can do it because of all the work that our staff, Mariah, and town staff has done to get us up to speed, which allows us to get cyber insurance at a better rate than what we were first prepared for. So that our next step is just get this contract signed, and then we can do the application. We have to have the resolution to do it, right?
Mhm.
And even though I think it was it was heavily discussed, but then once we have the resolution, they will help us with the application.
Mhm.
And
TCNS, and
Well-
collaboration between TCNS and
Wilson,
yes, Wilson and Henry,
Fifth.
who's with Fifth Wall.
Fifth Wall, right?
They're, like I said, as Catherine mentioned, they're a broker, and they were recommended to us, but TCNS has been the best way to sort of shop policies. And what we have is a proposal from
Tokyo Marine,
Tokyo Marine.
which is one of the highest rated of the insurance companies that do this, and surprisingly, it's not the highest priced one.
Right.
So
And we have a guess, it's going to be about $2,500.
2293.
2400.
Yeah. Which is considerably less
Yeah,
than what we were
Yeah.
first thought we might be stuck with.
the only thing that's not clear here is where the money comes from in the budget. I think, it should come out of the IT line, but, 'cause we didn't really budget for it. But that
I
is.
thought we did budget
I think
for
we
it.
did
I'm
budget
pretty
for
sure
it.
we
Yeah,
did
we
talk.
certainly talked about it,
We certainly talked about it.
and I think we did budget for it. I don't know where it is.
Where is it in the
I
budget?
don't know that.
We have an audience member who's maybe knows something about
Well, I'm
this.
just curious, I am a cybersecurity professional, at Tompkins Trust Company.
You can't be heard. If you speak, you have to come up, unfortunately, so you can be heard.
Within range of the
I was just curious, you said 2,300, is that a month or a year?
No,
annual.
3 annual.
Annual, okay.
Wow. It's not a silly question.
Yeah, it's not, it's a good question.
No, we had, well, you know, a year ago, we weren't in a position to acquire it all.
Right,
We had a bunch of stuff we needed to do in order to satisfy the criteria where any company would insure us, and we've done those things.
right.
How long have they been, do you have any idea how old the company is? How long they-
It's a really old company, but it does marine work, but.
Started out insuring ships because they were.
Yeah,
I saw that.
and then they did, the cyber insurance is more recent. And it is a big part of, it was,
It's not a side minor thing.
right, it's not minor. Yeah. So it is it's one of the higher rated companies, period. There was the other company that apparently somebody, we don't know who, tried to find a quote from another company, and once that's happened, there's a block on anybody being able to apply to that company for 30 days. But Wilson knows that about that company and knows the prices, and it would have been more expensive and less highly rated. So now when we get this, then they'll nobody, we can't be blocked out of it. So by somebody else asking from the town or somewhere.
So I move that we authorize this contract to be engaged in. And basically apply for.
And of course, I'm willing to second that.
Any more
You just seconded it, right? Okay.
Any more discussion? Mariah?
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon? Gagnon? Did he say
Yeah.
yes?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Thank you.
Then I need authorization to sign it. This is the same contract we have every year with Soil and Water Conservation District to
all right.
provide professional engineering services if we need them. And we didn't last year.
Have we ever? I mean,
Um,
I mean,
I think we did, otherwise, that's how it got started in the first place, lining up somebody to do it if we need it. We haven't had a SWIP in a while.
right,
That's where they would be.
it's a contract to
Yeah.
to pay the money to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big deal too.
Yeah.
How many engineers can you get for,
Were they involved at all in Brown Road?
they don't.
I move that you sign, the supervisor sign the agreement for services between the town of Danby and the Tompkins County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Seconded. Say that loud enough?
Yes.
Good. Ready? Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Court audit?
Oh, yes.
Oh, is that
I
gonna
got
be
a
that?
couple more
Oh,
things
I see what happened.
I'll put them at the end, but.
Yeah, well, I thought since contract was out, it threw me off.
The CAC has sent on to us a proposal for involving decision-making bodies, the town board, planning board, maybe even the BZA, in decisions where there's significant environmental implications, I guess you say, or involved in the decision-making process. And it's a list of criteria that would suggest that it would be good to involve the CAC. So we could make it a policy if we want to have that be the case, that we request that the groups, including us, refer things or get involved the CAC whenever these,
Criteria and everything.
whenever the criteria basically come into play.
Can we get Greg to weigh in a little bit on this?
I thought it was fine.
Okay, fine,
Yeah,
that's a positive, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
positive, right?
yeah, I think the
Fine is like we're just,
it's fine. No, I think the CAC, would be a good partner to have for certain developments. You know, most recent developments that have come to the board have been minor subdivisions. They don't really need CAC involvement in that, but, maybe every few months, there's a proposal that, there's some conservation concerns, like I think a Waldorf school had a conservation area on it. And I asked the CAC about it, or there was that proposal on Hornbrook Road last year that caused a little bit of a stir. Thought that would have been a good one to ask the CAC to be involved in. So, no, I looked at the proposal and I thought it looked fine. Adequate.
Yeah. Was that a motion on your part? Yeah.
Not yet, but it could, I was kind of looking, a little like I might be willing to make an emotion, but.
I make a motion that we adopt this criteria for having the CAC engage with the town board and the BZA and the planning board on.
and Greg,
Sensitive things.
I'll second that.
I mean, it's something that, we wanted the CAC to provide us with input and.
Well, I mean, the CAC, one of the first charges in CAC is to advise.
Right.
Us in particular, on conservation matters, so
Right.
it's sort of already in the charge. And if this would formalize it a little bit for the planning board and BZA.
Yeah.
And it includes the planner and the highway.
Yeah, sometimes happen with the highway too.
Did you hear that, Mariah,
They were,
what Pat said?
She's sleeping.
yeah.
I could hardly hear you.
Okay, can I read that back to you? To adopt the criteria to have the CAC and BZA to engage with the planning board?
no,
No,
Okay.
It's the,
CAC,
Mm-hmm.
the list of criteria.
That the town boards and town department look to the CAC for advice, especially in using these criteria.
As a trigger for when.
As a trigger.
When to seek
As a
that
trigger.
advice.
Too.
Hmm?
And
Yeah, highway,
highway,
Yeah, what's a department?
so CAC and highway.
Yeah,
that's what Pat was
Huh?
suggesting.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's written on the form here.
Yes, it is.
I didn't add it.
The CAC would be advisory to town boards and departments.
Yes,
which includes highway too.
It
So yes.
includes.
Yeah.
Code, it includes,
Yeah.
yeah.
whenever these criteria come into play.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like everything that anybody wants to do, they have to go and ask the
Correct.
CAC. It's just,
No.
there has triggers.
But that's what this is about.
Yeah.
These are the triggers for
Right.
Yeah.
seeking counsel with the CAC in the matter. So basically asking people to seek the CAC's input whenever these criteria come into play. Got that?
Yeah, I got it. Great.
Okay. So are we ready to vote?
She has this.
All right.
Okay, Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes, you have this. list.
Hunter,
Yes,
yes. Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
excellent.
All right. Next up, it was, well, we knew about this last time, but now we need to talk about what we're gonna do about it. We got this $4.6 million grant to put in sewers. And, of course, it's now what? You want to speak to this, Greg?
I think you have a good hand.
But recall that, back in July, was it? Tim Steed pitched a case for applying for water quality improvement program funds to implement the recommendations of the engineers in their report, which we commissioned, the preliminary engineering report, which was prompted by a desire to explore our options for having some sort of shared wastewater treatment. Because without it, we're limited to the individual well and septic, which is very limiting in terms of what you can do to focus growth in the hamlet, which we all agreed was supposed to be our objective. So that engineering study looked at the whole range of possibilities, including during the whole hamlet, including the neighborhood zones, and what it would cost to do each, and various ways of implementing it for each, whether you did forced means or gravity sewers, and various ways of treatment, including leach fields and very, bioreactors and conventional treatments, conventional sewage plants, and narrowed the options to a couple that they thought were potentially feasible, which involved sewering the two core areas of Danby and West Danby. That's what we applied for funding for, and we got it. But the trouble is as Tim indicated, he said, if you can get that, that'll get you 3/4 of the way there. And then once you've got that, you're in a much better position to try to come up with the rest of the money from other sources. So an obvious question is, what other sources?
Could you explain what the core hamlet is?
Well, I mean, the core is, it's in our zoning, what the core area is.
But what does this?
For the record, maybe you could outline it for those in the public.
Yeah.
That Greg could speak to.
Yeah.
If you could come a little closer, that would be good.
Yeah.
But the basic thing is that the core is the center, and then there's a hamlet neighborhood zone that surrounds it in each case, both in Danby and West Danby's case. Right. And in the case of Danby, what it amounts to is sewering the main road and not running up the side roads.
The whole main road, or
No,
just
no,
a portion of the main road?
Well, north to Miller.
Yeah. What?
North to Miller. I think it's
from here to Miller.
Yeah, and I can't remember whether it's from here, from Ball Hill to Miller, or whether it was Michigan Hollow to Miller.
Michigan Hollow.
Did you look at it?
That
Yeah.
long.
I thought
From
it was.
Michigan Hollow to Miller?
Yeah.
Wow.
The map is.
Yeah. The map goes to Michigan Hollow.
And
So
the plat
that's-
itself.
Which
That's in your
incidentally, it's,
backyard.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want it in my backyard.
well, I mean, we're not going that far away.
You live on
Okay,
a
that's a
comfort
joke. So, but the point
Yeah.
is that where you cite this thing is a particular interest, I'm
Yeah.
sure, to
Of
a lot.
course, yeah, absolutely,
And how much property it takes.
right.
and What it looks like, and
And what it would cost to those who would end up in the sewer district.
then
Yeah,
And not
is
to
there,
mention,
right, is there gonna be a cost to the people who already have septic systems to hook up to the new treatment plant,
right,
right?
and also what are the ongoing costs for those who do?
Correct.
Yeah, those are all questions that need to be asked. There are some numbers in the proposal, assuming, of course, we can be billed for what they put in the proposal. And they're fairly high numbers, even with the subsidy. If we can get grant money to build it, it still costs enough to operate it, that we're looking at it. It's not just a couple $100 a year, it's more like $1,500 a year per property.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Which I think is still, that's a lot of money. So, And this is not the only option, but it's the option for which we have this money. So this money is to do sewers. So we, you know, we have some wiggle room in there in that, that what we asked for was money to put in sewers in West Danby and Danby. We can do it any way that I believe this is the case. We can do it in any way that the engineers covered in their scope, which is to say we could do it with gravity sewers or with grinder system and force mains. We could do it with conventional storage plants. We could do it with community leach fields. That pretty much exhausts the range of possibilities. But you know, some of those things could be combined. We could also do it for, I think, less than the full scope, as long as it's within, and I'm not sure about that. Whether we could do it for, you know, it's supposed to be said, well, we really want to go just from Michigan Hollow to, you know, Gondomar. Or something like that. You know, I'm not sure whether we could do that.
I mean, limit the scope of the project so that we would have less that we would have to be paying for out of our pockets. Out of the tax.
Well, the thing is that this is what the nature of this grant is that it's a percentage.
Oh, we still end up paying.
Yeah. So in other words, it pays up to $4.6 million towards the cost. But it's up to 75%.
Let me ask another question. So there's a certain percentage that is going to be our responsibility.
25%.
What?
25%.
And are we spreading that over all of Danby or only amongst the people who are going to be served by this?
We're looking for grants to get the rest of it. That's what he said at the beginning. The purpose of getting this one, applying for this.
So our
they
interest
told us we could
in this is based on having it fully funded.
I would almost say that's the case.
Yeah. The part that's not fully funded is people's opting in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could, if we thought this was really important, we could say, because we're about $1.5 million short. We could say we could bond for $1.5 million in the interest of promoting the vision in the comprehensive plan and make it a townwide obligation. There's no way we can say we're going to take $1.5 million and make it an obligation to those who are going to end up in the sewer district.
Right.
Whether that would be a go.
To make that policy without the input of the residents?
I don't think we could bond.
Not, the bond would have to go up.
Yeah, exactly.
But in terms of even the whole process of deciding.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
You
I
have
can't
to-
hear.
Debbie Benson, 58 Walt Hill Road. So my question is whether or not you all have the authority and ability to just go ahead and proceed in terms of whatever the cost may be for the taxpayers without either the input of the community or even like a referendum vote or, you know, because we're talking about a serious amount of money and a big change.
Absolutely.
Moving forward and a big obligation for the rest of existence, depending on how
Right.
it
That's
goes.
right.
So,
That's right.
I mean, the other thing that's missing is what, you know, what this would cost were to happen in the
maintain it
different
over time.
possibilities. Not only how much it would cost to maintain it,
To
but
service.
what it would cost the residents, whether the
Or in
people who are
district.
hooking up or
All of
town,
Danby.
yeah.
Right.
Just what I was gonna comment on to that is that in order to form the special district, it wouldn't automatically go to a vote, but there would be an appeal to that special district that could trigger a vote.
Right, you maybe
Okay.
for permissive.
Okay, let's go back a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. So in order to do any of this, a special district would have to be created, sewer district. That has a point at which somebody in that district could appeal it, and then that would go to a vote. So it would go to people in the district to potentially vote on it.
In the district or the, all of Denby?
District.
In district.
In the district, so if we said the district is Michigan Hollow Road to,
Miller,
Miller, whatever it is. And it's just this main 96B corridor, right? It's not.
Yep.
Right.
It's not even the park or whatever. Then the people that live in there, they would have to vote to,
They could,
but not the resident.
they could trigger a vote, by appealing the special district, and then it would go to a referendum.
And then the ongoing maintenance, let's say we get fully funded, we don't even have to cough up 25%, or we don't have to bond. Then the ongoing maintenance would be.
I'm sorry, can the speaker move up?
if people on Zoom can't hear people in the audience unless you're.
Plus, we can't
up
hear
here.
the minutes.
Well, yeah, in other words, those folks didn't hear your question. You need to be up here where you can be heard.
Well, it's not just that. She needs it for the
Why don't you
minutes.
just stay here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just have a seat.
Just gonna join the board.
Yeah.
Yes, we're beyond for that, by the way.
Yep.
That works.
We have a vacancy, you know.
So then moving forward, the cost would be spread out through all of the Danby residents, not just those in the district.
No, the ongoing cost, once the system's in place, would fall on the people who are in the district.
It's like the
But
West
the West
Danby
Danby
Water
Water
District.
District, only the West Danby people in that district are paying for the.
Right.
The
ongoing
operating
maintenance.
costs.
Right,
Right.
right.
Although if we bond for it, that'd be a townwide obligation.
And that would have to be that would be a public
That would be
referendum
everybody,
for the bond.
Yep.
Right. And
There's
your decisions to move forward in any regard, basically you have the authority to
We can move forward, yeah.
keep moving forward. And to Ted's point in the earlier part of the meeting, the transparency and openness would be,
Something we would aim for from the
Yeah.
get-go.
And it's in, I mean, has been discussed in town board meetings before. This isn't the first time it's been discussed in the town board meetings in public. And the
He's
report,
brought it up before.
what?
Yeah.
Newsletters.
And then,
Yeah.
right, and Tim Sneed came and spoke to in a
Yeah.
town board meeting, which was also open to the,
But- And the bottom line is that we had this opportunity after the study was done to sort of see how it would play out. We can, with the understanding that we can say, no, we're not interested.
right?
I
So,
understand that you
yeah.
can say no. I also understand
Yeah.
how tempting it is
Exactly.
not to say no when you're like, wow, look at this windfall. And
But it still needs to pencil out. I mean, if it costs you, whatever it is, it costs us $6 million to do. It's mind-boggling to me that, that running a sewer at Maple Avenue costs $600,000 to do, and, it's a hugely expensive thing.
well, the problem is that you have so few people in the district currently.
Yeah.
If the notion is we're gonna have a high-rise apartment on 96B that would eventually be serving
Oh,
Right,
many
big part of the-
families, which
right.
is part of your goal.
Well, one,
How do you, if you build it, do they come? And I can see how you might be tempted to do that, which is
Well,
maybe
I
not
just want
wise.
to add a little historical perspective, is that this has been talked about to some degree, without this actuality being here now.
Right,
And there hasn't, I mean, the idea is this is gonna lure people to downtown Danby, which is kind of a misnomer in itself. That this will lure people here to become, and everybody hopes, what? Trumansburg, Dryden,
Newfield.
no.
Newfield?
Yeah,
no, it might, it might, encourage, enable.
Yeah, the
you
word
know,
is
we
enable.
Can't have a
as far as
restaurant, like,
Yes.
a restaurant or senior housing or
Right.
apartment buildings. I'm not, I'm not
A lot of things have
saying
become,
it's,
the reality is that there's very little construction happening in the absence of infrastructure
Anywhere,
anywhere.
yep,
The apartment buildings that are being built in Lansing and Dryden, they've got access to water and sewer. In order for the very rarely does the developer put up an apartment complex and put in their own septic system to service it. And in terms of lowering the cost of construction, if you have a sewer system, you can have small lots. which are, cheaper to develop. And providing the services to those lots with the source is also cheaper. The roads are, less roads, everything's, there's a lot of savings involved that make development more feasible. It doesn't guarantee it though, even if we have and it's also we're a state policy to encourage the development to go where the infrastructure exists. So for places that don't have the infrastructure, we're kind of left out in the cold. It's almost a mandate for sprawl because you've got no support in state policy and funding for promoting housing and where the infrastructure doesn't exist. So we have indicated our desire to be a pro-housing community. If we had the source, it would put us in a better position to get some of that money and to help address the housing need that's not just in Danby, of course, but all over. All of this is fine and well, but the bottom line is, how much money is it going to cost for somebody who's going to end up in that sewer district?
Right.
Well, that's a really good point. That's where I was getting to too, is if we get all this funding to actually put the sewer system in at no cost, but then you got to run it.
Yeah.
So there's
And, we all have septic systems. That's what we all have. Doesn't cost us anything once the septic system is in, except when.
I see two new ones on my street in the last month, two new places, new fields, and it's horribly expensive if anybody's to replace. And it's happening on West King. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening, but
Systems do fail.
They do fail.
Expensive.
yep.
Yeah. And they need to be pumped regularly, so it's not like
Right.
there's no ongoing expense for those of us who have septic systems.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up a couple things and also just in the interest, if the board is taking comments from the public and might just want to also.
Right, yeah,
looks like
Ted has
Ted's
his hand
hand
up.
up. Maybe you want to take his and then I've got a couple points.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, just that, in the newspaper article from Tompkins Weekly, it states that, it's part of, in the contract, just that, the Office of State Comptroller must approve the DEC's documentation of the project solicitation and review the process before the DEC can begin the steps of executing the contract. And, the note in here is that the DEC and the Office of State Comptroller will expect the contracts are executed within 90 to 120 days. That's after the state comptroller has approved the DEC's process. From what we found with WQIP award, this is a Water Quality Improvement Program award. Past WQIP improvement awards taken at least 6 months for a contract to even be in place. Last year, a few towns in Tompkins County were awarded them same time frame at Christmas time. They didn't see a contract until deep in the summer from the DEC. So the town actually, it might work well in the town's favor that the town might have about 4, 5, 6 months before even seeing a contract that the state says you need to sign this within 90 to 120 days. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, so the real question is, how much time does the town have
We
to
don't-
decide if they want to pursue, accept the funding?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, the question is, how much time does the town have to decide? I think that's still undetermined, but at least the town won't get a contract from the state likely, I mean, just given these past awards, probably into the summer sometime. Even then, if the town receives the contract, you have 90 to 120 days to sign it, so that adds a couple, 3 months onto that. Does the town need to decide then? Probably.
Yeah.
And we're obligated at that point.
After you
No,
sign
we
it.
don't sign that contract.
I know, but I'm just
Right.
wondering is it,
I'm
we
not
sign a
sure- I'm not
contract,
sure to what degree we're obligated.
Yeah, see
It's an
that,
obligation.
these are grants, right?
Right.
We just don't get the money if we don't sign for it.
Right.
We don't get the money without signing for it. The question is, if we don't follow through, what are the
Lose it.
consequences?
Correct.
so these are all part of the questions that it's worth, in the next week or so for us to, reach out to to the program administrators and just have these questions.
Clarify,
I think,
right,
yeah,
right.
clarified.
I mean, there's also a lot of options as far as what kind of system.
Yes.
I
So,
mean,
you know, to
I
Paul's
mean, a
point
leach
about, you know,
field is a
ongoing
lot different
costs.
than, you know, a gravity fed pump.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, if we put in a system that has a leach field, the operating and maintenance costs are a lot less than if we put in a
Right.
bioreactor, which requires, you know, skilled personnel to operate. So, you know, the choices that get made about what to put in will affect the ongoing costs of running it once we do it.
So can we get all this information before, you know, like? Yay or
Well,
nay?
Well, the question for us here is,
Or-
you know, what, first of all, what do we need to know, what do we want to know, and that's coming out here as we talk about it. And then we also need to explore what are our funding options, and Craig
Yeah,
started on that.
And it seems that the next round of funding, the loans and grants available, from what I've read, is that the town needs to form the sewer district before those funds can
Right.
be awarded. Which,
Oh.
that seems to be
The next critical, you know, thing. Now,
Good.
here's where I was hoping that we could do something that addressed the larger need. I had this idea, and I asked the consultants or the engineers to explore it, and they did, sort of. So it's in the report, the possibility of creating a quote unquote floating sewer district that encompasses more than just this is the district that would be created with these sewers, that would allow for clustering of wastewater systems elsewhere in the town. So that we could enable an eco-village type system to be set up without them having to do the extraordinary things that they had to do in order to do it there, which is to create a transportation subdivision, not transportation corporation.
I'm wondering, is there a possibility to target certain areas in town?
Yeah.
To just have, you know, off the top of my head, you know, the old Dotson property.
Mhm.
I mean, that and, you know, where there might be an interest in having some concentrated housing.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I'm looking to. And it could be, I hope, and so it's worth exploring. What we can structure that, you know, properties, land or go up into whatever, you know, become part of a district, which exists as a sort of in concept, it covers the whole town. But properties are in that district based on their being accepted and made a part of it by the town board. And the criteria would be that they construct systems to do the joint wastewater according to criteria that are acceptable to us and to the health department. And then once it's constructed, it'd be deeded over to the town so that it's ours to maintain. And it becomes part of a sewer district, and then the, you know, the cost of operating, maintaining, repairing, and if necessary, replacing becomes the townwide obligation. That would put development of multiple lot subdivisions in a clustered way on an equal footing with what the current situation, where you can do multiple, you know, clusters of dwellings on the same property without a lot of hassle. The health department will readily accommodate a mobile home park, for instance, without having to do anything fancy. But if we had a mechanism for doing a housing cluster on individual lots, but with a shared system that would then be taken over by the town, it would put the developers in the same position. They could say, it's going to cost me to put it in, but then it's going to be something that the health department and the town will accept and administer going forward. That would, and the sewer part of it, you know, West Danby Sewer District could be one of the property clusters that are part of this sewer district. So if we constructed the district to include the possibilities of the sewers, we can decide to include them or not, but we could apply for for funding based on the creation of a district that would include them.
It's crazy.
Is there any way of surveying the people that would be in this district, or whether or not they really are interested in anything like that? Set of letters going out just to see, I mean, we're not under the gun. I mean, something that could be done within.
We did
with the-
survey as part of the study.
The
And
study, but one thing people ought to do is look at the study before we ask all these questions. Some of them are in there and answered.
yeah,
And the study is,
It's available on
the,
the.
the
on the
preliminary
page.
engineering report, that's.
you mean the Hunt thing?
Yeah.
The Hunt
It's
thing?
in there. What people who participated said was, we, as long as it's not gonna cost us to create it, we're interested. But then the cost of participating wasn't really addressed.
Right.
Not to mention that,
Which is a fairly big gap.
Yeah, it could be, we don't, we'll have to take a look at it, but.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go
yeah,
ahead.
not to mention that we have, in this core, we have houses that are abandoned, basically, going for a dilapidation.
Mhm.
And, you know, when we're saying people are not gonna come or they are gonna come, they can't come if we don't do something. They can't, because we don't have, you have to tear down to make it possible. And then many, by the time a house is abandoned for a long enough time, that does not mean that the sewage system that's set up for that house is even fixable. So it does, but I like the best word that we go away from is the word enable. This enables things that it doesn't ensure. I mean, I saw a thing today, again, what's the difference between insure and ensure? It does not ensure that we will have it, but it does enable. And we know it enables in a way that we're not going to destroy the water system, which is a really big deal to me.
Right, well, I mean, yeah, right. That's one, I mean, this is a water quality improvement.
Right, that's right. This is
project.
not just about, you know, we can say, if we really do care about people and, you know, our future and all, we should be paying attention to the water.
Ted's been patiently
I
waiting.
know.
Ted.
Yeah.
Hi, three quick things, one of which I think is worth a bit of consideration. First of all, a bit of conventional wisdom extrapolated to this case, which is that the next time that a government project comes in on time and on budget will be the first time, which leads me to the second, which is, if I understood you correctly in listening, the only way that people not in the district could become financially liable for this was if it didn't come in on budget, or if the town could not get it funded externally, in which case it would be a bond and it would have to come up to a vote, where people would be asked, do you want to be paying for something that provides you no services? That's my second question. The third one has to do with the Tompkins Weekly, or was it Ithaca Times? One of those papers. Reporters often have a way of mangling the details, and readers, including me, have a way of mangling what they understand from the article. But I was puzzled by one thing I read in there, which was that this kind of grant is generally for improving an existing system. Whereas, and this is what I think the article said, this is not improving an existing system, this is installing a brand new system.
That's right.
Did I understand correctly? And if I did, my second question is, how do you justify that?
I would justify putting in a new system?
Well, I had three questions. Am I correct about the financial burden to non-district members? Second, did I understand the article correctly? Whereas this grant is intended for one kind of thing and was awarded even though you have something else in mind. And if I did understand that correctly, how do you justify that?
You mean they shouldn't have given us a grant?
Well, the reality is that we pitched it as a way of dealing with existing and potential future water quality issues. A septic system, you know, a sewer system would both address current inadequacies and forestall future ones. If we want to build up the hamlets, which we say we do, it's not even possible to do it with conventional septic systems. There's not enough. I mean, it's sprawl. It's basically what it comes down to. The funding agency here, which is the DEC, basically accepted the argument that installing a new sewer system was a worthwhile investment of public funds to accomplish these goals. We have to now decide whether we agree.
Okay, I keep gonna have, okay, so first of all, you know, I understand the idea, the ideal of Danby becoming more than what it is. I mean, we're pretty rural, we're a rural community, and we're pretty small time. It's just what we are. And I mean, we're expecting developers to move. I mean, we're thinking we're gonna build it and they will come.
No, that's not what anybody has said.
What we're doing is, and what we did with the rezoning, we're making it easier to do what we say we want to do and harder to do what we say we don't want to do. And we don't want to happen. So we made it harder to build now in the outlying parts of the town. We down zoned and say we'd rather you didn't build there. We'd rather you built in the core, in hamlets of Danby and West Danby. What do we need to do to make it easier for people to do that? Well, we changed the zoning.
I know, let's talk about the sewer, because that's what we're
The zoning
talking
now
about.
enables a lot of things.
So you're saying that
Added
this thing
sewer
is
is
not
not-
gonna be built until the contractors come in and say, we're building downtown here? Because now we have the funds to put the sewer system in? Or does the sewer system get put in first, which costs a fair amount of money?
Yeah.
And then eventually there's gonna be construction in downtown, downtown.
Yeah.
Danby.
Right. That means we're making it easier. We're not guaranteeing it.
I mean,
It's not possible, so we don't have it just simply.
Say that again?
If we don't do something, it's, we're making it hard for anything to possible happen. And it depends on whether we want to do that. And
Well, the Dobson piece of property, the parallel for Dobson's property is that development that took place. I can't remember what it is, it's down on the left-hand side, down towards Ithaca. And they all have they all have septic systems, each individual. And Steve, you know about this?
Beardsley?
Talking about, right? Town Village, yeah. They all have independent sewer systems, right? Septic systems. Wow, I'm just not that optimistic about that kind of development coming to Danby because we put this huge system in. And that's where I'm coming from.
No.
I
You
keep
know
thinking-
about the Design Connect study, right?
Okay, go ahead, Leslie.
I'm just asking whether Paul knows about that.
Does that happen?
Yeah, because part of this is, I call it poverty of imagination. We have a hard time imagining what would be enabled. And I think that needs to be part of the discussion is, what's in it for us? What could we see potentially happening?
Great, I understand it, I really do understand that. Go ahead, Leslie, please.
I'm just, I keep going back to maybe there are certain properties where the landowner would be interested in something like this and having, and I don't know whether it's a possibility, the different options, whether, there could be a couple huge beach fields in a couple properties. That's what I keep going back to.
Like
Um,
Greg's, your thing. what's it called again? Where do you live?
White Hawk.
White Hawk.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
Like a-
yeah, I mean, it's, it would have been nice if it could go there. I don't know, maybe it could, but I mean,
I mean, I have,
across the street,
right,
I don't know if the person who owns that property would be interested. I mean, there may be other people who are interested in sort of growing things. I know Zach has talked about things in the past. Maybe he's got property, but I don't know what the options are as far as what they would allow, what they'd be interested in funding.
Right,
If they're
because you need
interested in
willing
leach
players to do
fields,
anything.
maybe they'd be interested in 3 large leach fields where there could be some focused development by property owners who are interested. That's where I.
Yeah, I'm looking for the interest.
Well,
Mhm.
Zach's been waiting
Zach, you wanna-
patiently.
he's so impatient.
I have, I think, 2 questions. The first one is environmental, just of curiosity. A leach field versus a membrane bioreactor.
Mhm.
Would the effluent be held on site?
With the bioreactor?
No, with the leach field.
Leach field.
Or would it be held on site at the homes requiring I'm sorry, I tried to read the septic study. It's like 200 something pages.
I
It's a
know.
really-
Although the meeting is in the first 50.
I sat here for the meeting too. My brain's kind of mush. I apologize.
No, so I'm not sure what your question is.
You want to know what's done with the effluent?
Yeah, where are the solvents held?
Well, the way if it was a community leach field, you're gonna have either a community septic
Mhm.
tank or settling area, and then the effluent goes into
Okay.
the absorption field. Or you could do it the way Newfield does it, where they've got their septic tanks in every property, and the effluent goes into the shoreline, and then there's a community leach field.
Yeah, that's
The other way to do it.
So with the leach field, how does that help any more than individual leach
Well,
fields?
because, well, the trouble with the individual leach fields is that each property has to have one,
Oh, yeah,
and so that takes up a lot of room.
but I'm not asking from the space aspect, I'm asking from the environmental aspect.
Yeah.
Well, environmentally, they're very similar,
So it really isn't changing the water quality.
except where
It's the failing systems.
the systems are in proximity to the creeks.
Yeah.
which
But a
some of
water
them are.
treatment plant separates.
Oh, I know way too much about, my dad worked at a water treatment plant for like
Okay.
20 years and
Right, the degree of treatment, the quality of treatment is significantly better with any of the alternatives.
Oh, absolutely.
To the leach field approach.
And with that, like, as has been said multiple times, would that be broken down as just because we're not monitoring the amount of water coming in like a normal sewer setup would be. I tried to research this and whatever. It would be broken down on a tax basis, would be broken down on a per bedroom basis.
I mean,
like-
how would the cost be assessed?
Mhm.
Well, that hasn't been determined.
Okay.
But typically in sewer systems, if you've got water, the sewer assessment is often based on your water consumption.
Mhm.
We don't.
Right,
So the alternative is to base it on the taxable value,
right.
which is likely.
But that being said, like, say, I am going to be putting in a septic system at some point in the next few years that is going to, we'll just say, handle 1,300 gallons a day, which is a lot compared to anyone else that has a yada yada. And I feel like I should be paying more into that because I'm putting more into that.
Right, which
You're
since
creating
you're
more of a
constructing
water-
it, you are.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah. You got more, you're creating more effluent to process.
I mean, probably not a lot because most of it will be going into food, more so than, I don't know, a rug cleaning place or something.
Car wash.
Yeah, I just say rug clean. Someone tried to do that
Yeah.
on the property.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. And then as a secondary, as far as development, I I look at this, I lived somewhere once for a decade where, about 25 years before I moved there, this doesn't have to do with sewer, but it's infrastructure. They saw an influx of, the potential of an influx of humans. And they're like, well, we can either bury our heads in the sand and not do anything, or we can go after this problem and in the future will be better, which I realize is very different from sewer because roads, sewer.
Yeah.
And what they did is they did nothing and they are here 35, almost 40 years later, still playing consistent catch up. I do think people will start developing. I am only saying this because I have a neighbor that initially within moving here was like, we would love to start breaking up our properties so our friends can buy pieces of land. I'm sorry that I'm just staring at you, Paul, but
You're good, just talk to me, this is, I mean.
it's nice.
Cause it's nice to hear this.
Yeah.
In fact, cause I haven't seen anything
Yeah.
big happen in the last 10, 15 years in Danby.
I mean,
the
Right.
biggest thing was Braybach,
yeah,
and that's it.
it's
And,
it's a matter of zoning. It's a matter of being known, like countywide is the most difficult town to do anything in building wise.
Say that again?
Would you like me to?
Yeah,
Yes.
countywide.
It is countywide, Tompkins County, I believe is the county we all live
Oh,
in.
you're saying Toms County is the hardest place.
No,
No.
Danby
Be in county.
is the hardest because of, I don't know about current zoning, but all zoning up to 2022. I had someone in a different county say this to me. I've had a lawyer say this to me. I've also I don't know, ran through the BZA a couple times, the planning board.
This is that 5 acre, 10 acre requirement, correct?
It's,
Well,
No, that's not what we're talking about. is it?
No, I'm asking.
well,
It has changed.
It-
has changed.
it kind of is, but it also, that turns down into what is affordable housing?
right.
Affordable housing doesn't really exist anymore unless you can get some sort of governmental assistance to build a place, which you're not going to be doing on a 10-acre lot. If you have the money to build a, we'll say 25,000 or 2,500 square foot house, you can probably afford a 10-acre lot. What I'm saying is the business, having a business here is slightly difficult. It might change hopefully with
More people.
more people. But I mean, it's a hard thing to talk about because I don't want to say dumb stuff. But it's been interesting because going to the market and talking to people, more and more people are moving here out of Ithaca and just out of other parts of the country. I mean, I moved here from a place that it was, 118 degrees the last summer I was there.
Right.
We do get wildfire smoke here, but nothing like being in the Northwest. And personally, I'm for some reason putting all of my labor and money into trying to do something here because I love living here. I've lived in West Coast, Central South. I grew up in Ohio, in a town smaller than here. And I don't know, as long as the money can exist to make this happen through grants, as long as it's not a several $100 a month fee, it is really reasonable because I am currently looking at buying an extra lot next to me and I don't care. I'll gladly put in a huge septic system because I don't know, it's good exercise. But I would also like to not have what would be in I don't know. I actually don't know what a lot size in Ithaca is. Most towns it's about 1/10 of an acre.
Yeah, right.
A septic field that's 2 to 3 times the size of that to handle everything. It'd be really nice just to leave that as green space
Mhm.
or.
It sort of is, a big leach field.
It is, but I mean, I'd rather have a tree than
Yeah.
a
And
hump
a
that
grass
reminds me of,
Giant
Right.
mound.
What's in there?
yeah. So, sorry, I think I rambled, but I know I rambled.
Well, I was just gonna say 20 by, let's say, 50 feet would give you a septic system, maybe more like
If it's a sand
20 by
mound.
75 feet.
My septic system for my house, which is set up for, my house is not 5 bedrooms, it's 1 bedroom currently.
Right.
But so we could eventually build more units on the property. It is, the sand filter is 12 feet wide, 48 feet long, and 4 feet deep.
There are new regulations.
And the leach field is, sorry, Pat, is
Well, the sand
48
filter-
feet by 60.
Right, so you're talking sand filters, which is different.
Yeah, but I
Conventional
mean,
system is not that big. but-
Well, it's typical.
And it's based because of our soils are clay.
but all the soils on where I'm at, I mean, that's why my neighbors would love to do it, but they, it'd be the same
Another
thing for
reason
them.
to do this.
And their water, I mean, their water table is 25 feet below and they just have a jet pump. I thankfully got a property that had a nice well with it and that was it. But I don't know.
Well, our limits are based on a small lot, but it has to be big enough to hold the septic system.
Yeah, well,
It's-
the health department won't let you do less than an acre, and if you've got, this is a lot of record, but, and then they'll work with you, but if you're creating a lot, they won't let you do less than an acre, without, municipal services. And if you do a realty subdivision, we got multiple lots, it's apt to be bigger with the soils that we've got. That was the case on Beardsley Lane. They couldn't get away with acre lots. They had to be more like an acre and a half to accommodate what the health department would require.
3 lots divided before 1970 under an acre are allowed though.
Well, if they've already.
If they can be engineered within that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not.
I mean, I own a lot.
I
right now.
assume,
It's like
all this
0.15 acres.
conversation is about, is the developability of Danby. And you're saying that there's people out there that really would like to develop in Danby.
I'm saying it is going to be interesting once Cornell comes in and designs, which he doesn't have to do anything with it. But Shane Spencer's plot of land, Rick Dobson's farmer land.
Oh, that thing that's starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah,
Have you ever been back there before?
Oh, yeah, I've been.
Yeah, it's cool.
I had his job.
Yeah, right. So,
Generally, when a town builds infrastructure like sewer, water, you'd be surprised at people that notice in terms of developers, to that capitalize, I was gonna capitalize on that, but really unlock that. Lansing saw that, and not that, Danby wants to become Lansing. But when they ran, water and sewer, yeah, and so it's a typical, the general planning principle that if you don't want development, don't encourage infrastructure to be built.
yes, right.
Farmlands, if you want to protect your farmland community, you don't want to build water or sewer lines out there because it'll enable suburban sprawl. So in this case, in terms of looking at just the hamlets, it does have the possibility to unlock and to create a little bit more affordability here in the hamlets. Housing choice, there's demand for senior housing, and just different just type of housing types, really.
Does it increase the chances of pizza?
yes. I can almost, if I don't die in the next 3 years, I can almost guarantee that well, Carthage already has pizza maybe once a week.
The new place?
Yeah, the new
Yeah,
place.
Yeah, I heard that they were gonna get a pizza over there, yeah.
They don't have a pizza oven. I don't know what kind they're doing. I think it might be like,
So let me just ask a time frame kind of thing we're talking about, right? So if this thing is built using the grants that we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
We're essentially paying nothing.
If we could
Hopefully.
get grant for the whole thing, the
Because we're
funding
talking-
sources that were identified in the engineering report are many of them not, well, some of them are low interest or no interest loans. But that means you have to
Greg
pay
was
the money
talking
back.
about getting other grants too, right? To do this?
Yeah,
That's
there's
right.
other,
Keep going.
Okay, go ahead. Good.
it's mostly, loans, but there are grant programs, the USDA Rural Development Water and Waste Disposable Grant Program. There's the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Improvement Act that provides, grants, but there are, there are loans. So
What's the one that we were talking about last week? where you
See,
said there was
This is what I
50%?
remember is that you were saying that this would be a gateway to other grants.
Right, that's
It's a great way, Dan.
that was what Tim said, basically.
it would test, what Tim said, the way that the word he used was, this WQIP program would just kind of test the approvability, the fundability of this. And a number that always sticks out that Tim mentioned, it was somewhere between $640 and $650. He said that the state uses that number as the affordability benchmark per person per year. If they believe that a project, a sewer project like this can create up to or produce no more than $640 or $650 per year per person in that district, it's considered an affordable project. If it's beyond that, it's less, it becomes less, it's not as affordable, and they're not going to provide funding to that. So I think the fact that the town got the WQIP indicates that it could be affordable. There's still a huge gap financing with this, and given the number of
Say that
people-
again, Pat, so
Could
I know
be.
what yes is.
I'm emphasizing his word, could be.
Yeah,
That's why we applied for it in the first place, because of the possibilities.
Right. Again, because of what is being presented to us, we're looking at beyond the possibility. If this becomes a reality, I want to know what we're doing with it. You know what I mean?
Well,
There's a
that-
lot of-
I want to know.
There's a lot of
That's
us.
why,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why we were saying just an hour ago that we need to get these questions answered. And we're just now talking about the question that we might ask. So, call in or what we need is to gather all those questions so we can present them, and that's the net
Get
helpful,
some answers.
be helpful.
Yeah, there's already good questions being generated here that
Yeah.
we're just gonna add to the list to just be answered
Yeah,
before being informed whether to say no or yes.
Okay.
helpful.
And I'm hoping that we can, soon identify what are the critical steps. And it looks like, from what Greg is saying, and I concur, that creating a district might be a critical enabling step, before we can even chase additional money. So I'm going to, it's in there, the possibility I raised, it's in there in the report. We need to flesh it out more, and I'm probably ought to talk to Guy about whether we have a legal context for doing it, because it's definitely off the beaten track, and it's not something that anybody else is doing. But neither is putting into the sewer system something that everybody else is doing either. So that's to my mind, that's a critical next step, is getting that. Whether or not we go ahead to the sewers.
Finish.
Mhm.
What? I just wanted you to finish the sentence that we're gonna, I'm sorry, I'm losing the track of things here.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna back off.
Oh.
It's about money and steps. I think it really would be great to set out the different steps that are being engaged in. Because first of all, this is a major grant. I had been thinking that there were like a cadre of grants that were gonna be
Right.
coming after this. I'd like to know what all those are. I'd like to know what the monies are that involve this. Then what you were talking about, what would happen next, and then next, and then next would be a great help.
Except that the next that I was talking about it, what probably precedes getting the grants. Or you're looking to get the grants. As Greg pointed out, we need to create a district in order to be in a position to apply for funds to build it.
So in the report, Tim and his team did put together a potential project schedule that goes from the preliminary engineering report that we have here from March of 2024 all the way through spring of 2028. Pretty aggressive timeline, but in it are about 20 steps of funding sources and district formation. The next step that we're on, potentially of July of 2025, is special district formation. In that same month, July 2025, there's a grant, the water, it's a WIA grant. Tim can talk about the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. That's another grant that would be applied for, probably by me and, you know, with TownBoard's authorization. And he's also suggesting that in that same month or by that same month, there's discussion about bond resolution. You know, if that WIA grant is not going to cover that full amount.
And then it wasn't even in his list, it's the possibility we talked about that recently emerged with $1 million that's available for.
Right, that's another, yeah, we could talk about that now, or just, there's a potential that the Tompkins County is,
Well, yeah, with what, one project within every.
Yeah.
I forget what that.
Could I ask for a spreadsheet or a
kind of like a flow.
what is that, Venn diagram? There was something else that says, this takes, this goes to this goes to this goes to this.
Mhm.
Where's the money, wherever? Do something that talks about at what point you would expect some development taking place. And at what point you would have to start charging Danby residents for this process, or you understand what I'm saying? Is when does it become a liability and just a benefit? And then it's like, this is a long-term process. We're not talking about, this is what I don't understand yet. I don't understand how long all it takes to get all the monies in line. And then when you actually expect some kind of development to be taking place.
You're talking about building the sewers?
Correct.
Yeah.
And whether or not there's an out-of-pocket that goes, I mean, a lot of it's accounting kind of stuff that
Well, yeah.
we need to see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So there's some work here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so in terms of when, if there's a special district formed in this year and construction would begin in 2027, I mean, it's a pretty aggressive timeline, but that's the schedule that they put out. At what point do people in that district?
And they have nothing on, no, they have no skin in the process, So I want to get a little more there.
Who?
The guy who's writing this thing up.
Oh, yeah, the engineers.
Right.
Not anymore.
Well, yes and no. I mean, for what it's worth, and it is worth remarking, these are engineers.
Right, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Tell me what it-
And
Their
they're,
professional abilities, right?
yeah,
But I'm more interested in stuff, for us, it means a lot.
Yeah.
And if for the
Absolutely.
people in Danby, it means a lot. And I want to know at what point the people of Danby and who they would be would end up having to pay for this. And before they start getting a return, at what point the return is that's going to pay for this.
right.
And if it's
The
being-
one question you ask is hard to answer, which is to say, at what point would cost, the general taxpayer in Danby money? Depends on how successful we are in getting grants.
Right, well, there's,
If we could get grant funding for the whole thing, then then it wouldn't be a general obligation of the town, wouldn't have to bond, and wouldn't cost anybody outside of the districts anything. But how probable is that? That's a really hard thing to judge. There's at least a fair chance that we can't come up with all the money from grants, and we'd have to bond for some of it. then it's a general obligation and it's gonna cost everybody some to.
Correct.
But we
But
don't
it-
have to do that. If we don't get enough money, we don't have to do that. We can just drop it. So
Great, I
That's correct.
agree with that, but that's what I want. I want kind of a little bit of black and white here.
Yeah, I mean,
And
unfortunately, we've
even
got a
though
lot of.
I'm
gray.
leaving the board, so, I feel like at this point, because this is complicated enough and interesting enough, that I'll start coming to meetings and I'll be that person.
I'm not just good at sufficient.
I want you sitting next to me, all right?
I mean, some of this is, I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So I
Yes.
keep going back to what of the system, what options, what system option are we looking at?
Exactly.
And what's the district? Is the district 3 sections of the town along the highway, or is it the whole strip?
Thing. or-
Is it, I just keep going back to that.
Well, and we need to go back to that, and that's part of the whole big picture, is what do we want to try to build?
Right.
And where is part of the, and it's a substantial
Right.
part of the decisions that need to
Right.
be made, because
Right.
it will drive how expensive it is, what kind of system you're gonna put in. I'm not sure how much flexibility we've got, in terms of the scope.
Right.
On that, I
Well,
have a
maybe we
question.
also need to start talking to property owners that are along the highway, so, whether it be Shane, Olivia,
Yeah.
Zach, I mean, who maybe
I have
maybe these are
another-
properties that,
Another question, is there such thing as, again, I like to throw out the crazy things and I'll just throw out some idea, mumbo jumbo stuff too, but is it possible to have a hybrid so that you put the main, let's say you put the main line in without any hookups,
Yeah.
except in where Olivia's place is, or except where Dobson or wherever. And then you also, because you're not doing hookups all along everywhere, then you also could do a few of those cluster places that with the smaller systems that the goal is still the same. It's, if part of our goal really is, which we keep hearing, not to develop all over Danby, but to have a few cluster places here, we're still meeting that goal of not turning all of Danby into sprawl. And we're also being a little more responsible about, because I think the responsibility of the water systems and the sewage things is something I don't see any reason why that can't also be emphasized, because as we said, depending on where you are, a septic system may work fine as long as I keep getting mine pumped, but I don't really know how much stuff it's putting out there because I get it pumped regularly. I make sure about that.
You're not getting sewer.
Well, I know I can't unless I move, but, well, the other house right on Gunderman, right close, and you never
You
know.
might get it.
Anyway, back
Right
to you.
away, because that was one of the options, was looking at, what about if we ran it up Bald Hill, what if it happened if we ran it up Gunderman, what happened if we ran it up Hornbrook?
Right, I'm looking
know,
at these
And,
pictures.
and it was like, maybe someday, but it's not anything we need to, that would make sense financially to do as a starting place.
But it would, again, the potential or the possible down the road, which I.
Yeah,
I
when
think
when
is
you put
really
a main
big.
in, because the nice thing about Danby, a lot of nice things about Danby, but central Danby, it's downhill from Michigan Hollow all the way to Miller.
Okay, we're going off here. I mean, I just want to say,
And it's uphill to.
please, Greg, give me a, if then, and timeframe
Yeah.
and a cost thing, and show me as much as you got. So that we could sit here in front of us and look at that a bit.
How about you put some questions together and we put them out to Hunt too, and don't make, since that part.
Well, I
of
gotta
it.
talk to Greg.
You oughta,
first.
you oughta read the report, this is starting place.
I'll read the report.
Yeah, that's good, great bedtime reading.
I'm happy to go.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to read in the work drive document than it is in the Lisa fiche, that just links to the website, and trying to figure out a way to make it so the public has access to that easier.
Well, I've got it pulled right up here and I can enlarge it and read one line at a time if I wanted a certain size, move through the map which I've been doing this whole
Is this,
time,
is this the, is this
right
the
off the
web?
web. Yep.
I changed the link.
Oh, you did, good, thanks.
Yes.
It's really nice.
Yeah, this,
really
this
nice.
one you could scroll through and everything,
Yep.
way better, yeah. The laser piece was hard to navigate.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Ted?
Thanks. Something Paul said triggered a memory. The Tompkins, and it's a question that I think that you'll need to answer. The Tompkins Weekly article seemed to imply that the cost of the annual cost of using this system for a property owner would probably end up being higher than the annualized cost of bumping their septic tank every 5 or 10 years. You really need to have an answer to that.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, there's no, very little doubt that that's the case.
Yeah.
We're talking about, well, I mean, if you've already got a septic tank, I mean, if you've already got a septic system, you've already got the sunk cost of having it and it's functioning okay, then you're not, it's not as beneficial to you as if you have a failing system or if you're trying to build a new place and have to put a septic system in, which is a major expense.
That is perfectly correct. And when I read that in the Tompkins Weekly article, I sort of asked the question, so to myself, so we're asking existing residents to pay for something which they don't need, that will effectively benefit people who move in, changing the lifestyle of the existing residents. You need to make it why that's a good thing to happen.
Yes,
Getting rid of.
well, I mean, you're right.
derelict
I mean, there's no
house.
question that if we quote unquote grow the hamlets, it's going to change the environment for those who live in it.
I think this would be really helpful for people who live along the highway who would like to develop their property.
Yeah. Mhm. And one thing that's changed in the 40 years that I've been observing and talking to people is that, 40 years ago, if you'd asked people, nobody would want development in Danby anywhere. Most people just don't. In the meantime, there's been a growing willingness to entertain the possibility because of what we've lost along the way and would like to recapture. And the recognition that we have to do something different or the trajectory for losing more and not gaining anything.
Stores.
So, that's what the comprehensive plan, that's why we said what we said we wanted to do, and we're just trying to advance the plan. I think we'll have to come back to this. There's a couple other items I'd like to get covered on the agenda. The audit report, you actually did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
And it was more comprehensive.
Yes, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's something you should probably share with the board, right?
Yes. What do you want to share? I can print out copies, but I don't have the copies that,
Yeah, I don't think it's worth putting a copy, but
we
maybe,
don't need to read all the questions, right?
maybe you can scan it in and share it. With board members rather than.
Well, what we could scan in and share is simply a pre-filled in, which was disturbing. But a pre-filled
don't
in
wanna do
report, and
that,
it's not, it's not much. but-
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what you want. You want me to read all the questions?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I don't,
So
we've
they-
never done that
The
before.
state
Right.
has an annual checklist for review of justice in courts.
Yeah.
And it has to do primarily making sure they don't screw up the money. That's not how they write.
Yeah, basically, that's good for all of you.
And in this case, and they do have, reports to back it up. In this case, everything was a yes, but they were following everything that they had said. We also had, looked at their, the clerk had files for every month for both judges because each judge has a separate account. Or when they have fines, they put it in their own separate account. They are not to have any money in the accounts long term. So at the end of every month, they write a check to the town and the town then writes a check to the state. And we looked at the bank statements and the sheets where they had the income, all the fines. And for each of those, for each of the judges, for each month, for last year, everything matched. The only problem that occurred was not in the judge's office, but the checks that were written to the state, to the town, were not always deposited each month. Sometimes they went 2 months before they were deposited. And the justices don't like that and have no idea why. Everything else was fine. That was the only issue. And when I get the reports that have places for signatures on it, they'll be signed and then they'll be submitted.
Great.
And officially, it's supposed to be approved.
Yeah. So if you could maybe share it and then we can approve it next time.
Oh, wait, no. Shall examine said records or docket at clause same to be examined and enter into the minutes of the proceedings the fact that they have been duly examined. No,
Right.
they do
So
not.
we've
Okay,
already
okay,
done what we
okay.
need, yeah.
So, you're
So we
reporting.
enter
and-
into the minutes.
Yes,
They have been duly examined.
okay, very good. I would note, particularly in light of what the point you raised about the timely deposits, that's my responsibility. The supervisor and the clerk are also supposed to be audited by the board.
Right.
And it's been a good long time since the board audited either me or the clerk.
Well, no,
The
Steve
bookkeeper
and,
is supposed to be audited as well.
Steve and I-
Bookkeeper is an extension of me, so basically that's the
That's
supervisor.
audit.
Steve and I
Yeah, it's supposed to be-
audited the clerk, but it's been since he's
It's
been
been-
gone, so it's 2 years.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah. But for the supervisor
Never
and
mind.
that, but
Hasn't been-
So that's, we
associated,
need to set up a committee that do.
I think
Right.
that would be a good thing to do.
I agree.
Do it right now.
I can do it with Catherine.
If you be willing.
Like we just
Is
did
that
that.
agreeable to everybody else? So then, let's make it formal. You want you to vote both the clerk and the supervisor?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I
Now
move
that
that
one-
we create a committee of Catherine and Pat to audit the supervisor and the clerk.
I'll second that.
There you go.
I'll third that.
I think we're ready for a vote.
Hold on. You bring these motions up. Okay, Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Me too.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Pat brought to our attention that the February meeting is scheduled for President's Day. When though, is the AOT meeting or the NIOP meeting, are they calling it something?
oh, I mean, it's like Sunday or
Wednesday.
Monday to Wednesday,
Is it
That
that,
week.
yeah,
15th through the
yeah.
17th of the 18th? So that would be problematic even if it weren't for President's Day.
Yeah.
So can we move it to? That would work.
Not,
And of course, we're gonna have the same issue that if we go very far, we're gonna be right up against the next meeting in March, which is also on the 3rd, because February is a short month. It's only, it's exactly 2 weeks from when we would regularly schedule it. But if we go out a week, it's only a week between meetings, which is kind of silly. It's to the point where we either we find a time during that week. Would we do it on Thursday? You'd be back by then, huh?
Yeah,
Of course, it's Thursday. Alternative, the alternative would be to just, cancel the second meeting of the month.
well, yeah, I mean, we so rarely do that.
For a week, for a
We
week
need
worth of
to-
difference, I don't think it's worth it.
right. And if we needed to do just a voucher abstract thing so people could get paid, we can do that with a special
It's only a week
morning meeting or
difference.
something. It's only 1 week, I thought we said it was 2.
Well, it's 2 weeks from when we would normally meet.
Yeah.
And if we could have a meeting in order to do that, we could have a meeting to do everything else too. When does
Well,
that be?
except if we had one that was an hour to approve for people to be, any checks to be paid, that's all I'm thinking about. And not the other stuff. Yeah, during the day, right?
We could, and
We
we
could
have a
try
regular meeting,
Thursday. What?
just later in the week, though.
What?
Said we can try Thursday.
Try Thursday. What do you think, Paul? Does that work for you?
Going out with a bang
Your
here,
last meeting.
yeah. You said Thursday,
20th.
the 20th, okay. Yeah, yes. I only have one vet appointment.
Wait, it says planning. Do we-
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, that's
2 to
maybe-
4.
That's
Oh,
a
okay,
Review
okay.
committee, but that's in the
Right, that's
afternoon,
same clock, time,
There's
6
planning
o'clock.
thing in the daytime,
right?
Same time.
20th, it's the third, that's the third
I
Thursday.
didn't bring my calendar with me,
Yeah.
but-
1, 2, that's the third Thursday.
On Thursday.
Mariah, do we have anything on the calendar for the 20th evening?
So I'm on it.
Of course, Mariah will be gone. So it's kind of,
She will not be gone.
well, I mean,
Well,
she'll be
we'll,
that, you know, the whole first part of that week.
Well, she'll be back by then.
And I think
So
she's
so
talking
is she
about
gonna
things
get
that have
things
to be
done, you know,
prepared for the
she'll
meeting.
have the morning to do things. I mean,
And Cindy can do some of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cindy and Julia have been doing the warrants.
Yes, that's right.
I have.
there's the food pantry. I'm not sure
That's not
that's
here.
a conflict, right? Otherwise, the 20th is free.
Does it work for you?
Yeah,
We need to hear.
Okay, I move we move the second February meeting from the 17th to the 20th at 6 o'clock.
Second.
Okay.
I don't remember.
The
Ready?
vote-
What?
Connors,
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. I'm sitting on my calendar.
Hanson,
Yeah.
Hunter,
Yes,
Woodworth. Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes,
thank you.
okay. Items for next time? Anything that we haven't already mentioned? Hearing none, we'll come up with something.
we'll figure
Um,
something.
Yep. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for your contributions to a lively discussion.
Hey, Craig, who was that masked woman?
what?
Who was that masked woman who is not here anymore?